Now, we're going to stay with the U.S. for a story that's off the grid. And President Donald Trump has responded to accusations that the U.S. is not supportive of breastfeeding and is discouraging other nations from supporting the practice as well. Sarah is here to tell us more about this.
Well, so much so that the Trump administration has even been accused of bullying smaller countries on global health resolutions related to breastfeeding. It's all about this document from the World Health Organization. If you just take a look at that document there, and specifically this line about the protection, promotion and support of breastfeeding. The US didn't want that included in the resolution, but you'll notice they didn't sponsor it. In fact, it was Russia that did. Now, the New York Times reported the document was originally put forward by Ecuador, but they had to back down when the US threatened to impose trade restrictions and withdraw military aid. Then something changed because Russia came to the rescue and stepped in as a sponsor to keep the proposal alive. And despite US concerns, it still passed. Now, this isn't the only time that the US has been accused of trying to shut down support for breastfeeding. You may have heard of Codex Alimentarius, and it's an international body under the United Nations which creates standards for most of the food that we eat. It held an executive meeting earlier this week, and Patty Rundle from the International Baby Food Action Network says the US delegation once again opposed language that protects breastfeeding and child health.
Well, I'm very concerned about what happened at Codex just recently and at the World Health Assembly, because the US behaved really badly and tried to stop all the health advocates, all the member states who all wanted better protection for breastfeeding to actually pass a resolution and Codex standards that would protect breastfeeding and child health. The US was blocking this all the time. I just hope that people listening will actually do something about it and say, no, enough is enough. We have to stop this type of bullying.
Well, nutritionist Roger Matheson told us that this kind of behaviour from the US goes beyond the Trump administration.
I remember back in 2012 where Vietnam wanted to enact a new advertisement law to restrict marketing of breast milk substitutes. And the American embassy in Hanoi sent then a threatening letter directly to the National Assembly indicating that it would limit the profit for the American formula milk industry. So every mom supported to breastfeed is one less customer for the formula milk industry, and that's why this is so important for them.
So what's going on? Well, Lucy Sullivan, head of the nutrition advocacy group 1000 Days, says it's all about public health versus private profit. She suggests that the US opposition to breastfeeding is connected to its support for the multi-billion-dollar baby formula business, which was just mentioned earlier, but which US President Trump doesn't agree to. He weighed in, tweeting that the US strongly supports breastfeeding, but we don't believe women should be denied access to formula. Many women need this option because of malnutrition and poverty. Now, nutrition advocates say the proposed resolutions don't deny women access to formula, so different to what he's saying, but they just ban marketing the products as equal substitutes for breast milk. Now, the World Health Organization says breastfeeding reduces the risk of diarrhea and lung diseases. And the WHO also says breastfeeding can prevent mothers from getting ovarian or breast cancer, as well as diabetes. And longer breastfeeding durations are linked to better performance in schools, which also lead to better jobs. Now, the WHO also says that countries lose more than $300 billion a year because of low rates of breastfeeding. Well, these trends are inevitably connected to national policies on maternity leave and stigma around breastfeeding, of course, in public. But we want to know what your country is doing to handle this issue. You can get in touch with us with the hashtag AJNewsGrid.